So an airline came to me and asked me to teach a class to their Pacific Rim employees at the Narita airport in Tokyo, and they would fly me there and back. Since I thought this would probably be my only chance to go to Japan, I asked to take a couple days at the end, and I went out and bought 4 books. I bought a book about Japanese people and contemporary society. I bought a tour guide. I bought a phrase book and a little pocket two-way dictionary. I studied all of these. I was prepared to go. Went over there. Had a great time. Among the things that the little tips I got from the books was on your first morning in Tokyo, you should go to the Tokyo Fish Market, which is one of the wonders of the world. But they open at 6 a.m. And the book said, with jet lag, you're not going to be asleep at that hour anyway. You may as well go to the fish market. Absolutely true. You don't need an alarm. I did that. Another thing it said was that if you want quality souvenirs, don't go to the stores. Each of the little prefectures in Japan, each of their little states, has a tourist office in this big office building, and you go up there, and in addition to all the desks where they send out literature and answer the phones, they got little counters in each one of them where they sell the best things from their area, from their district. And you get some really good stuff, really good prices. And so the books told me little things like that, and I had a great time, and great times make for dull stories. So I'm going to take you to where the book ended and life began. If you go to restaurants in Tokyo, in the front window, there are plates that have little plastic models of all the food on the menu. And beside each plate is a little card that has the name of the dish in Japanese and the price. Now, if the price was also in Japanese characters, I just went on to the next restaurant because the books didn't cover prices and numbers. But most of the places had Arabic numerals, the kind we use. And so then I would go through and make my selection, pull out a pocket notebook. This is something they don't tell you to do. And copy what was on the card. Then when I went inside, and the waiter would see me coming, and this look of horror would come over his face, because he knew he was going to be embarrassed. He was going to be embarrassed twice, because everyone knows if the person doesn't understand English the first time, you just get louder, you see. So he knew that was coming. But instead, I showed him the little notebook, and the sun came out, and he showed me a table, and I only needed to say one word, which was biru, which is beer, and he would trot off and bring me back my. So I had a system. I had the books. I was doing well until the last day. I needed to convert a little money to get through the last day and get out to the airport. So I got up early, and in my little tiny businessman's hotel, the only services were in vending machines, although they had a lot of those. They didn't have anything for currency. So I came down. I went to the big fancy hotel down the street, well, 2 or 3 blocks away actually, and converted my money. Now, it was early in the morning. I needed breakfast. I wasn't going to eat in the hotel with the big fancy hotel prices, so I went out on the street, and I went along, and I came to the first restaurant, and it was closed. Breakfast out is not a big deal in Tokyo, apparently. That's okay. I went down a little farther. I found a second restaurant. It was also closed. I went further, found the third restaurant, which was also closed. I began to see a pattern here, and I was thinking warmly about those vending machines back in the hotel, when I came to an open door, little tiny restaurant. The door is open. I went to the window. I looked inside, and I looked for something breakfasty on the display. And right there was a plate of pancakes. And I don't know what they do with pancakes in Japan. If they have a little shrimp in them, they serve them with a maple wasabi syrup. I don't know, but I wanted to find out. So I went inside, and the place was empty. There was no one sitting there. And then a waitress came out from the kitchen, and she was a tall, rather plain woman in her mid to late 30s, but she was not thrown by the fact that I was a Westerner. And comes in, and she escorted me to the back of the restaurant to sit at a hotel. I mean, sit at a table, probably because she didn't want to scare away people by having me sit in the front. So I'm sitting in there, and she gives me a menu, and I didn't understand a word of it, of course, but I didn't need to. Now, if you notice, I did not write down the name of the dish because it was pancakes. They are ubiquitous here. They're everywhere in the U.S. And my books were printed in the U.S. I had no problem. I set aside the menu, I flipped open my phrase book, looked in the food section, no pancakes. Okay, put that down, that's why I carry the dictionary. Open the dictionary to pancakes, it's not there. Well, I don't know who these writers were in the dictionary, maybe they called it something else. I went to hotcakes, no. Griddle cakes, no. Flapjacks, no. Hoe cakes, no. All right then. I looked wistfully at the door. It was a long way off. The waitress was standing right here patiently waiting for me. I was not going to lose face by getting up and going back out to the sidewalk. I was going to solve this problem right here, right now. So I started flipping through the books, trying to find something that I could use to make it. And I came across the word waffle. Aha, I will ask for a waffle. She will say we don't have waffles, but since waffles are close to pancakes, we have pancakes. That was my plan. So I looked at her and I said, waffle. And her face fell like she had just lost her favorite Hello Kitty. I mean, it was just, oh no, no waffle. And I waited. Nothing else was coming. All right, back to the books. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here, how I can do what I'm supposed to get, and get some breakfast. And then she said something to me, which of course I didn't understand, but it included the word kohi. I didn't know what that was, but I had heard it somewhere before. So I said, hi. She took off to the kitchen, and I sat there, and soon she came back with a cup of coffee. Ah, coffee, kohi, okay, that's got it. So we're making progress. It's a step in the right direction, but it's not breakfast. So I went back in the books, this one, that one, trying to find something. And then I had a brainstorm, and I looked at her, and I said, Nandimo. And her eyes could not have opened wider if I'd pinched her bottom. I mean, she was, because what I had done is I had just said anything. I threw the burden onto her shoulders, you see. And so she hurried back to the kitchen. And I could hear them talking. I didn't understand the word they were saying, but I knew what they were saying. She said, that crazy guy Jim said anything. What do we serve him? And the guy in the kitchen was probably saying, we have no hamburgers, we have no hot dogs, what else do they eat? You know? And that went back and forth. And then it got quiet. Now, I've had people ask me, why did you say that? Weren't you afraid of what you might get? No, anytime you go to a restaurant, there's an element of trust involved. And I've worked in restaurants, I know what, you have to trust the people in the kitchen. The other thing is, in Japan, everybody worked so hard to do the right thing, I was not at all worried that they were going to do anything bad. So after a few minutes, she comes back out, a little tentative. She's got this plate, she's not sure, but she's got something. And does anybody have any idea what she brought to the table? She brought me a ham sandwich. Now, I've had better breakfasts, and I've had better ham sandwiches, but I had to give them points for hospitality, for patience, for ingenuity. And so when I finished and I got up to go to the front to pay the bill, I wanted to say something nice to this woman. And I flipped open the phrase book again. I found a sentence that I haven't seen in any other phrase book, and I've got about a dozen of them at home from different languages. And so I opened the book and I pointed to it so she could read it. And since I'm here and I'm going to read it myself because I've had a little more practice now, and because most of you don't know enough Japanese to be offended by my pronunciation. What it was is, which means that was a good meal, I enjoyed it. And when she finished reading it, she just broke into the biggest smile, and she was so delighted, and I realized that was what I wanted for breakfast. That's what I wanted to have. And if you ever go to Japan, by the way, the word is pankeki.